on Cadella, I'm meeting with Bryce North and Eric Senyuk.
All the energy of the whole event, I mean, since we got off that bus and got into the establishment, we got teams of different provinces just screaming and cheering at us.
They represented the Asper School of Business at the JDC West 2012 case competition, and their entrepreneurship team won first place out of 12 Canadian universities. Welcome Eric Senyuk and Bryce North. Rory McMorris, the third member of your team, unfortunately couldn't be with us today. Bryce, Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So there are 10 different academic case teams as part of this competition, and you both were on the entrepreneurship team. Eric, let's start off by talking about what some of the goals and objectives are in solving an entrepreneurship case.
Sure. There's a lot of different common problems that you have to solve for these case competitions, but some of the most common ones for the entrepreneurship category are things to do with financing. So if you have an entrepreneur who's got a great product that thinks it'll do well, they need to find, a bank loan or bring in equity investors to get it financed. Or they need some marketing expertise. Maybe they need to bring in some help, again, with an investor who knows how to get the product into the proper distribution channels, things like that. And another thing about the entrepreneurship case is that a lot of times work-life balance matters as well. So as opposed to maybe some of the other case categories such as accounting or finance, with the entrepreneurship case, you'll have entrepreneurs who have families to feed, and often they have a stable job elsewhere, and you need to take that into consideration when recommending what they should do.
Bryce, can you talk about the steps your team took in preparation for the competition?
For sure. Each team was actually required to meet around, hopefully up to 8 times. I think our team actually met around 9 times, if that's correct.
Yeah, I think so.
So really, I think we did mostly about once a week, as much as we could meet. So scheduled with each other, met, and worked with the prof to kind of get an open classroom. So that's what we did. We had 3 hours of isolation, and we were pretty much worked hard at that time. Fought a bit, argued a lot, but a lot got done at that time. And then we had 20 minutes to present in front of different entrepreneurs, different profs, and other people who were in the team previously. So that's what the whole process was. So, during our isolation here, our first time was pretty rough, and we really couldn't distinguish our roles. But after that, then we got into a pretty good groove. Eric here, he jumped on the PowerPoint right away. He got kind of to that analysis, got everything prepared at that point. And from there, I jumped into a bit of the financials, a bit of alternatives, while our colleague Rory kind of went into the strategy behind that, the strengths and weaknesses, and how to carry that forth. So once we did that, we kind of collaborated, put our stuff together, and Eric kind of did the implementation. That was our process.
Okay.
That's how we presented to each other. Our best strategy was really just relating to that person who was doing the business, and really, portraying the personality and how we can actually put that into the business and help them make a good decision.
Did you try out different strategies along the way that you found worked and didn't work?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We did other ones that were a little more analytical, really number-based, a lot of financials in there, and really you got to mix it up, again, like I said before, with the qualities and characteristics of the entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. And you found that the feedback helped a lot after the practices, every time you'd have someone kind of give you feedback on how you've done.
Absolutely. It's really about your mannerisms.
Okay.
The way you smile, who you're looking at the time, being higher standing. Every little bit like that, if you're distracting, the judges are going to notice that, and they're going to miss a key point from your partner who's presenting. So it's stand still, look professional, and all that feedback really helped us do that.
Can you touch on some other criteria that you knew you'd be judged on at the competition that you worked on?
What a lot of teams didn't do, what we heard is just the full implementation. They skipped that part, they give the alternatives and said, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. It comes down to you have to do this, and this is how you're going to do this. And that which distinguished ourselves and made us different. So that was the biggest criteria.
Bryce, you mentioned that there was a time limit, 3 hours, that you had to prepare. How did you incorporate that into your practices, and how did you prepare for the time pressure that was applied to you?
It was really a mental thing, half of it. And we had to go in there, we had to know our roles. The 3 hours seems like a lot, it's really not. Mm-hmm. You go and you take a few breaks here and there, you just get stressed out. We had a lot of stress. But really, it's how you prepare for that, and just knowing your roles. Mm-hmm. Each individual had their own role, and we did that. And we were in a big time crunch, and we knew that at certain points, maybe after an hour, we should be doing this. If not, we have to move on. Mm-hmm. So we did that, and we left about, 15 minutes, if we could, at the end to practice and work on our presentation, go through it once so we make it a little more fluent.
So Eric, now let's move to the actual day of the competition in Edmonton. What case were you presented with there?
The case that we got when we were in Edmonton was about a man who he had a stable, 80 to 100,000 a year job with another company, but in his spare time he had developed using AutoCAD a better lid for reusable stainless steel water bottles. And so he really thought that this lid had potential just because it was better in that it didn't spill or leak as much when people were carrying it around. And he wanted to decide if he should leave the current job that he was in and focus solely on the water bottle, and if so, how exactly to commercialize it. So he needed to know what kind of financing he should be seeking, whether he should take out a bank loan or find an equity investor, and also what kind of distribution channels to use to get this water bottle out to consumers. So I think in the end what Bryce and Rory and I recommended was that he should take the leap, leave his full-time job, and bring in an equity investor with some more experience in retailing water bottles or something similar, as well as maybe a network of contacts at these kinds of distribution outlets. And then we recommended that he stay away from internet distribution for now, but that he first focus on sporting goods stores and then do the mass merchandisers, and then lastly also try and get it into the retailer for Army and Navy servicemen. And that is essentially the case that we got, and a lot of the cases that we practiced were quite similar to that one.